on the anniversary of my rape. I wrote it, thank you. I wrote it because I didn't want to give up, and I wanted to remind myself that it wasn't time to give up. And then I shared it with some of my best friends, and they told me that I should share it and publicly celebrate surviving another year. So I tweeted this love letter, and it started to resonate with other folks. And that love letter started to travel and be tweeted over and over again, and people started to write their own love letters of survival. And so now you're going to hear from 4 amazing folks who I deeply, deeply respect, and you're going to hear their own survivor love letters. So let's give it up for Alchemy Look, Amita Swahin, and Natasha.
Tonight. There's a lot of other places that people could be, and it means a lot to me that you came out, and I just want to acknowledge that usually that means you came out for your own reason, your own relationship to the issue that we're talking about tonight. So it is really important, like Natalie was saying, to remember to breathe, to remember to take care of each other, to take care of yourselves. We're going to be saying some heavy words. We're just getting started tonight, so it's a gift to be here in community with all of you. And I want to thank the folks who put this exhibit together. And gosh, especially, it's just such an honor to be lifted up by Jess and Lenny, who made the Survivor Love Letter mural. If you haven't had a chance to see the exhibit yet, please walk through tonight before you leave and get your Survivor Love Letter button. And most of all, I want to thank my very dear friend Tani for bringing this together. So let's give her a hand. This is very much her vision tonight. Thank you, Tani. And on tonight's panel, you're also going to hear from my very dear friend Bambi Salcedo, who's such a visionary, and she's on the Mirror Memoirs board with me. Mirror Memoirs is a project I'll tell you a little bit more about later tonight on the panel, but basically it is a project centering the stories of LGBTQ people of color who were raped or sexually assaulted as children, and Bambi is a close friend of mine and also an advisor in the work, so thank you, Bambi. This is a love letter I wrote. I've been part of Tani's project from the beginning, and this is the love letter I wrote this year. So that was in February. The project happens on Valentine's Day every year, and I just reread it before coming up here to share it with you, and it also still very much rings true just a few months later. So here's my letter. Dear little me, I write this on the cusp of entering my 40s, a new decade of life. It has been 36 years since you sustained the first wounds, and 24 years since you began consciously healing. Language often seems so inadequate to describe our connection, but if we cannot communicate our experience to others, how can we find connection to others? So I will try. I used to think the wounds of rape, torture, and psychic violence defined you, me. I know you feel so other, so ugly, so alone, so different and strange. I know you spend a lot of time wondering why you have been chosen to suffer. I want you to know you are not what is happening to you. Your father's shame is not your own. You came into this world complete, whole, and perfect in your human imperfection. You get to leave this world with your soul intact. The shift from innocent to knowing is excruciating, but ultimately a gift. Violence and isolation are locked in a cycle of cause and effect. When you learn to open your wounds, you will release a flow of commingled blood and tears that will lead you to your kindred. For the sad and gorgeous truth is, you are so very normal. Your pain is the most banal thing about you. Release it, and the trickle will flow together with the blood and tears of everyone around you, rivers that race to the ocean, our primordial home. I promise you, the day will come that you learn survivors are and always have been all around you. Your classmates, your playmates, your parents, your ancestors, your oppressors, and one day your lovers and friends and colleagues. Literally everyone is or knows a survivor. You spend so much of your time looking for portals as an escape. Maybe that tree, that cave, that shell, that crack in the ceiling will open up into another world. I want you to understand the true portals are your wounds. By going deeper into yourself, you will be able to connect emotionally and spiritually with everything that is alive and organic. The goal is not escape, but embodiment. Not dissociation, but connection. Everything in nature is here to teach you, if you can learn to open to the lessons. The ocean is changed, but not defined by an oil spill. The wind is changed, but not defined by a nuclear explosion. The dog is changed, but not defined by the fighting pit. Healing is not a destination, but a practice and an understanding. One day you will learn to wear your wounds instead of being led by them. Your spirit will expand far past the edges of your pain. You will understand suffering as a universal human experience, and power as the ability to feel joy and pleasure despite what you have endured. Most of all, your wounds will disrupt the experience of time as linear. You and I will be able to use them to connect across time and space, because the body and the psyche truly does keep the score. I will visit you many times over, integrating each moment of fear by holding your hand, rocking you, letting you weep in my arms. I will grow up to understand how to love you in all the ways you always needed and never received. One day I will look at old photos of you, skinny brown girl with the big head and bigger glasses, teeth too large, knees too skinned, hair too scraggly, gender too ambiguous, and marvel that what once looked ugly and spoiled looks only precious and tender and beautiful. I will always be with you, just as you will always be with me, until each memory is felt and released, until we are truly one. Thank you.
Thank you, Tani, for having me. My name is Natasha, and I am an actress and a hip-hop artist. Thank you all for listening. Where is the site of the wound? Blood, red, sticky, wet. Hips pressed to the wall and teeth marks on your shoulders. Wipe it off on the leg of your jeans like a grass stain. Hold your body rigid and make it smaller so the flow doesn't leak out. Pinprick, gush, heat on your face, metal in the mouth. The lovers, the family, thicker than water. Pink when mixed with mucus. Bright and dangerous like the opposite of a garter snake. Breath, light-headed. Clasp your hand tight over that towel to make it stop. I have spent a lot of time fantasizing about where I could leave this body behind. In the closet next to the ponchos, on the park bench when it gets too chilly, wherever Wanda Sykes leaves her detachable vagina. It's too hard to be corporeal. In my body, there is nowhere to hide. What does it feel like to live in your skin, to be touched? A vagina is really a sphincter, a wall of muscle that can clamp down due to stress or impact. I am a muscle tensing on impact. It feels safer to think of it biologically than emotionally. Emotionally, I am a failure at the one thing I was meant for. I am a broken thing. Damaged goods, not strong enough, too sensitive. I'm unlovable and require operating instructions. I no longer invite people into my body or my heart. And in this litany of failures, I am not exceptional. And it makes me think of how many others are carrying around the secrets of a body that won't obey and won't be solved through the advice of others. Rebirth is a bloody process. Good blood, they say, blood with a purpose, blood meant to portend the coming of a new life. We are used to seeing blood as bad, as a sign of a problem. Spit into the sink and see blood. You wonder which part of your insides has split. In a parallel universe, I say all the right things needed to make it stop. Can we talk about that in more detail? Yes, later. Little one, I know who you were then. I knew that there was some big hole in your big heart, and it wasn't something that could be filled up with sand, and it wasn't something that could be filled up with lust, and it wasn't something that could be filled up by the promises of young boys they couldn't keep. Boys who carried that weight too lightly and did not truly care for you, whether by accident or intent. It does get easier, but only with a lot of work. And the work cannot be done in the ways you are used to, staying up late nights with pen in hand, writing out list after list of questions, or worse yet, to-dos that are meant to grind you into 100% grade A healed person. The work is meant to be unraveling. Someone should have told you that the solutions would come from lying on your back on a cold proscenium stage, staring up at the lights. Someone should have told you that stillness was more important than vibration. Someone should have told you that loss is loss is loss, and that no matter who tries to classify it into first degree or third, you have to feel through it the same way. So I am telling you now, feel through it. Let it be part of you. Let the shape it makes against your spine remind you of your resiliency, remind you that you cannot excise a single experience and emerge a better person than before. All other parallel universes are just as complex as this one. When you are low, be low to the earth and let it ground you. And when you are alone, sing your own praises and trust in Allah. You are stardust. You are infinite light. You are something more powerful than all your experiences. You will become something else. You will become something else. You will become something else. You will be different soon. I will become something else. This will all be different soon. Thank you.
Thank you, that was so beautiful. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Alchemy Look. I am the only living East Asian survivor of Larry Nassar, the USA gymnastics doctor who is now behind bars for sexually assaulting myself and 333 young gymnasts and girls. I testified in January at the sentencing in Michigan. I say that I'm the only living East Asian survivor of Larry Nassar because the only other East Asian woman, a Korean American adoptee, committed suicide at the age of 23. Her name is Chelsea Markham. Not all of us survived. I too attempted suicide when I was 16, and to this day I struggle sometimes with suicidal ideation, dissociation, depression, and PTSD. I've survived 16 years with my mental health in tatters because I never received the proper care or support that I needed. Why? Because it was stigmatized. Part of this is cultural, familial. You see, in Asian culture, young women and girls are conditioned to keep quiet, to be obedient, to do what we're told, And if anything like abuse were to happen, it is somehow